That's what. Yeah.
Are you going to move it? Are you going to move this from the agenda?
When we get to it.
You do it now. Mr. President.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. When we get to the level, you can phrase it. You can say, I want to serve.
But you're going to have to say item new business. Okay.
Order, please. I'd like to close the call meeting to order.
Mr. Banana?
Here.
Nigel Evangelista? Here. Christopher Kelly?
Here.
Lawrence Cunningham?
Here.
Nicholas Lima?
Here.
Jennifer Almeida?
Here.
Nikki Akindalomo?
Here.
Sean Andrews?
Here.
Kimberly Fernandez? Edward Pratt?
Here.
Aaron Holland?
Here.
Joshua Laguerre?
Here.
Trevor Leonidas?
Here.
Jasmine Resendiz?
Here.
Christopher Volsi?
Here.
Aaron Buckley?
Here.
Cole Bentley?
Here.
Amanda Dion?
Here.
Tyler Patterson?
Here.
James Spinner? Aiden James? Travis Escobar?
Here.
Mariana Cavalli?
Here.
Jeremy Agunda?
Here.
Thomas Lima?
Here.
Sarah Joy Dooley?
Here.
Gary Penfield? Bethany Lewis?
Here.
Derek Nicholas? Scott Payne? Marissa Weiss?
Here.
Melissa Pantalina?
Here.
Charlotte Donsola?
Here.
Randy Jackson?
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Laguerre, seconded by Mr. Leonidas. Discussion. We'll take Mr. Evangelista, then Mr. Andrews, then Mr. Bentley, then Mr. Banana. Mr. Evangelista.
Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda. I'd like to take revenue carryover off and actually switch it to the add, if you will, Beverly Ellen Guinness Scholarship property.
Your new business would like to swap
Yes,
revenue carryover with, what is it again?
Beverly Ellen Guinness Scholarship.
Where is that?
It's,
On the new business. Yes, new business. Hey.
Well,
Motion is made by Mr. Evangelista to amend the agenda. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Banana. Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Abstentions. Motion carries. Mr. Andrews.
we're not here.
According to my knowledge, there hasn't been a stock meeting as of yet, so I don't know how we're ratifying constitutions.
As I was going to.
Mr. Secretary.
All right, that is a fair and valid criticism. Basically, if you'll just allow me a minute or two to explain, due to a scheduling conflict, I was not able to hold the physical SOC meeting prior to this meeting. However, I was able to get approval through email of all of the constitutions. If people feel that it would be in our best interest to table until the next meeting, I would certainly entertain that motion. However, I believe there are club representatives here, or if not, will be attending, so feel free to do what you would.
I believe we should motion to table these until a stock meeting has been held.
Second.
You can't motion to table. It have to be motion to strike it off the agenda at this point.
All right, motion to strike it off the agenda.
And I second that.
Motion is made by Mr. Andrews, seconded by Mrs. Bentley to strike new business item D off the agenda to discussion. Yes, Mr. Holland.
I just want to see SOC on the agenda. I'm looking at the agenda right here.
It's item D under new business. Item 9B, contributions, Social State Film Society, Club Mud, OASPA, and HPV.
So what's the
I think the motion is to strike all four.
Oh, so we're removing the constitution.
Yes. So, motion is made by Mr. Andrews and seconded by Mr. Bentley. Continued discussion, Mr. Bernard.
I'm just kind of curious. We have the club representatives here. Did you have a form or letter sending an email approving disapproving?
Yes.
No.
So, finance does the same thing, so I'm just kind of confused as to why we make.
I would like to see.
You're not recognized, Mr. Bernal, still has the floor.
I just, you know, you don't want to make it hard for clubs that are already in the voting area. I mean, whatever, I'm just saying. So we don't want to make it.
Mr. Andrews.
I believe in the interest of protocol and following our bylaws, we need to wait until Stockhead actually has physical email until we see proof of the emails. Like, we need to see proof that this happened. Because several SOC members saying it didn't happen.
Mrs. Bennett?
At this point, I'd like to move forward.
Thank you. Yeah, me, Mr. Lima, and
No, I did
Ms.
receive
You did?
emails.
Yeah, I received the emails. We just
I
never
did respond
responded.
as well.
Oh, I did not respond. I never did, Ms. Weiss.
No,
Ms. Weiss?
yeah, I don't want to hold up the process, but I remember receiving an email about the meeting, which I couldn't attend, but I didn't respond to anything saying that I approved. Are there any other software members here?
Point of information.
Yes, Mr. Buck.
Can we confirm that a quorum of members on SOC responded to these emails and approved the constitutions? Can anybody confirm that?
Mr. Secretary, can you answer that point?
Point of information, when I sent the emails, I had requested unanimous consent to approve the Constitution, and as no one expressed any issues, I interpret that as approval.
No.
All right, one more, please. Now, Ms. Weiss is a non-voting ex officio member of
Right,
SOC.
so, yeah.
But as far as the other members of SOC, can you raise your hand if you're a member of SOC and you're present? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Yeah, Mike over there.
and 6. All
Does
right.
it count if they're ever there?
I'm sorry?
If they haven't officially been to a meeting yet?
If you're an appointed member, you're an appointed member, you have a vote. So, just in the interest of moving things along here, how many members responded back to the secretary's email? 1, 2.
In email or in Word?
How many members responded back to the secretary noting that they approved the constitutions that are on the agenda tonight? 1, 2, 3. So that isn't a quorum. So we'll continue with the list and the debate on whether or not to strike these from the agenda. Mr. Andrews, still the floor.
I think we should just call question and strike this from the agenda.
No, there's no one else on the list. So.
All right.
Second.
All right, so the motion is to strike new business item 9B from the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Abstentions. Mr. Cunningham, Mr. Lima, Ms. Resendez, Mr. Cavalli abstained. And motion carries. So items 9B, 1, 2, 3, and 4 are stricken from the agenda. Going back to the original list.
What's the original list? To approve the agenda, the conversation we're having right now. I'd like to move, since I have a leave at 9 o'clock, I'd like to move appointments, resignations, and vacancies to number 3, move everything else down.
Item 3, presidential proclamations.
I'd like to make it after the approval of the agenda.
Okay, so the next item of business.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Canano, seconded by Mr. Laguerre to move item 12, appointments, resignations, vacancies to item 3 and move everything else down accordingly. Is there any discussion?
Well, Caroline's here, so that will try to be like putting her after something else.
She's already after.
So why can't we put it after the speaker?
It'll take 2 seconds.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Mr. Resende opposes. Abstentions? Motion carries. Mr. Holland.
Yes, I'm just looking at the agenda, and one of the items is the approval of the bylaws minutes from February 3rd.
Yes.
I haven't, has anybody in the Parliament seen the bylaws minutes from February 3rd?
I'm the next one on the list to make that amendment, actually.
Because I don't know how we can do it if we haven't seen it. Is it?
Oh, yeah, I was about to
That's backwards.
All right, next. I'm next, but I won't pass the gavel. This is very simple. We had a meeting yesterday at the Bylaws Commission. Sent the minutes to Joan this morning. Wednesday's a busy day. She didn't have time to proofread them and format them, so we're just going to table that to a future meeting. So I'd like to strike just minutes of 2309 from the agenda. Who made the motion? Mr. Leggett made the motion. Mr. Evangelista seconded. Is there discussion? Yes.
I commend you in not trying to rush it through and tabling it so close to sometime. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to remove item, individual item from the agenda. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Further discussion on the agenda as amended. Yes, Dr. Kane.
I just wanted to know if there was any students here that were affiliated with those organizations for the constitutions. Okay, but I mean that we're waiting and just to make sure that they know that we're not going to get to them tonight.
Just a second, could you go alert those students?
Yes, sir. Oh, they're outside? Okay.
Yes, they're way outside. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kane. Any further discussion on the agenda as amended? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the agenda as amended say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Abstentions? Motion carries. Next item of business is item 3, appointments, resignations, and vacancies. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a number of resignations. I'm not sure if I did a couple of these last week because Joan gave it to me again, so excuse me, I'm just going to do them very quickly. I've received notice from Jennifer Almeida to, and I'm going to ask for unanimous consent on this, so let's just get through it quickly because we have a busy meeting. Jen Almeida has decided to resign Conditions and Services Committee because of the meeting time. She's student teaching and she just can't make it at that particular time. Amanda Dion has asked for the same reason. She can't make it at the meeting time to be moved from the Public Relations Committee. Adrian Medina has asked to be moved from a student parliament seat to a non-parliament seat on the Public Relations Committee. Melissa Pantalina has asked, because of the meeting time and the conflict with it, to be removed from the Public Relations Committee. Tyler Patterson has asked to also be removed from the Public Relations Committee for a scheduling conflict. And Adrian Medina, because of his resignation from Parliament, and there being no vacancy as a non-Parliament fashion on the Green Committee, he would also like to be removed. I also have one resignation from Parliament. Dear SCG, I have to resign from the Student Community Government due to my classes. Thank you, Adelman Delonay. I also have one appointment, Melissa Pantalina to the Conditions and Services Committee. And that concludes my...
Following resignation, we need a separate motion to accept on the remaining resignations and appointments. Is there any objection from the body on the remaining resignations and appointments? Hearing no objection, the appointments and resignations are approved by unanimous consent. We still have a following resolution.
Yes, dear SCG, I have to resign from the Student Community Government due to my classes. Thank you, Adelman Delonay Jr. I motion to accept with deep regret.
Second.
Motion has been made by Mr. Bonanno and seconded by Ms. Almeida to accept the resignation with deep regret. Discussion. Mr. Evangelista.
Do we need a letter from everybody to get resigns from Parliament? Because Kim Fernandez told me today she resigned.
She needs to give it to me in writing.
Okay. So I don't but
any further discussion? Motion is made and seconded to accept the resignation with deep regret. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions? Mr. Cunningham abstains and the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Bonanno. Do you have anything further?
As far as appointments, resignations, and vacancies, I do not.
Okay, presidential proclamations.
I do have one of those. So they're members of the Bachelor Social Work Organization. If they can please come forward. So the second time we've done this, so bear with me for a little bit. These are the officers of the Bachelor of Social Work Organization. I'm going to read you this proclamation of the Parliament. Whereas Rhode Island College has a group known as the Bachelor of Social Work Organization, and whereas the members of this group coordinated a massive donation drive to support families served through the Woonsocket Homeless Shelter, and whereas the group dropped off hundreds of donations, including kitchenware, personal care products, food, cleaning supplies, blankets, sheets, towels and pillows, items that will help families while they are in the shelter and when they move into permanent housing. And whereas the students receive donations from across the community, from businesses, churches, family and friends. Some young children even made and sold pins and magnets as a fundraiser. And whereas the contributions received amount to a monetary value of over $1,000. Be it resolved that the Executive Council of Student Community Government and Student Parliament as an entirety recognizes his dedicated service to a worthwhile charitable cause, and it recognizes the effort that went above and beyond the call of duty towards that cause. And be it further resolved that I present this proclamation of Student Community Government to the Bachelor of Social Work organization to honor their committed service to their cause. And be it even further resolved that I proclaim Wednesday, February 11th, 2009, as Bachelor of Social Work Organization Day on the Rhode Island College campus. Signed, Christopher E. Bonanno, President of Student Community Government. Congratulations. Thank you, guys. That concludes the presidential proclamation.
Moving on to approval of minutes. I believe we have one set of minutes for approval. That is the special election minutes of October 8th, 2008. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Cavalli. Is there discussion? Yes, Mr. Howell.
I'm sorry, which
Are we approving, it's a one-page set, special election meeting of October 8th,
Very exactly.
2008. Finance. Keep in mind, you have sets of finance minutes, you have sets of policy minutes. There's only one set of policy.
They come through the email?
Does everyone have a copy? On the table. A motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of October 8th. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Abstentions? Mr. Howell abstains. Motion carries. Moving on to item 5, speakers. Caroline Phillips. She will start off. Ms. Phillips, present.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's a little different. My name is Caroline Phillips. I am the graduate intern in Student Activities Office. I think some of you already know me, and to those of you who don't know me, I'm here to work with student organizations. So, I'm also a graduate student at URI in the college program called Student Personnel. This is my second semester in that program. Tonight, I have a couple of handouts that I want to give you, but before I give these handouts, I would like to go over a couple of things. I created a program called RIC Star of the Month. It's almost like Employee of the Month. So what you could do with this, students, you can nominate each other every month, and whoever that's going to be the winner for that month, we would take the picture and put it in Donovan, put it on the banner and put it in Donovan. Every month we would do that. And these students will be recognized at the first annual Student Leadership Award banquet. Okay. The form is in the back of that, and then description of the program. And this is the project. The second one is the first annual Student Leadership Awards information. Please take one. And the third one is Personal Financial Education Series. This is also, I have all the information on this. I spoke with Dr. Gray Anderson from URI, from University of Rhode Island Financial from Department. She will also be presenting on this. As we all know, we're in a difficult time in this country, economically speaking. So she will be presenting on these topics: managing your money, developing a personal budget, handling credit cards, monitoring your bank account, and understanding the basic investment concepts. And these are the concepts for you.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this Wednesday a day of student government? March 4th? Is it
Probably.
a... No.
March 4th is a regular meeting day, yes.
So you could come at 6.
Any questions? Thank you for having me. This is my first time in here, so it's a little different atmosphere. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Bentley, any questions? Oh, your applause.
Sorry. Sorry, I just didn't get to my hand up fast enough. For the Star of the Month, you said that be nominated and then to be voted on, or how are you going to do that?
When you nominate, we're going to go over the application and select the winner of the month. We only have a winner of the month. And that person, we would take the person picture, put it in the binder, and then hang it in Donovan. And
how do you determine if there's going to narrow it down?
there's a process. What we do, we will go through all the applications, and we do have a set of criteria that we go back to split.
Okay, is that going to be told to the students, or
yes, after we review all the applications, we will go.
I'm just wondering because we're all of us are really involved on campus. We all know, I know 100 people that have touched me. I just don't, not like that. Let me strike that comment. Who has helped me. And I'm just wondering how to narrow it down to who I would for that month.
You mean who will you select, or?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, actually we will go back on leadership involvement. It's not about GPA, we're gonna go back leadership involvement. It's mostly highlighting students that are doing really well on campus. Okay. And this will also give you a red flag for getting nominated for the Stargate Award.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Yes, Dr. Nichols.
What would be the basic difference between Walmart's policy of Employer of the Month?
Could you please repeat that?
Walmart has a policy, Employer of the Month, and many other businesses in America have this Employer of the Month, which I consider to be somehow, a manner of motivating to unreimbursed accomplishment, performance.
Yeah, it's comedians said the best. It's a time when you're a winner and a loser at the same time.
All right. Friends, let's not think too hard about it. I'd asked Caroline to come up with a way to continually recognize folks so we don't all have to be waiting till the Storgies at the end of the year and to Student Leadership Award. So if you think someone did something really good on campus, some kind of involvement, great, please tell Caroline about it so we can hang their big face in Donovan and put it in the ink. As far as how it differs from an employee of the month, I guess here it's more of a nomination process by peers. And who's going to pick? Well, Caroline and I and some other students in our office are going to sit down and take a look. And that's a little...
Great idea.
Any more questions?
Just one more.
Yes, Mrs. Bell.
Beginning or end or middle of the month?
Beginning will be great because that way this person will have enough time to have that picture in Donovan.
Oh, okay. I just was wondering because I want to make a point to get into Donovan.
Mr. Bonanno.
Thank you.
Can I have order, please, Mr. Bonanno?
Thank you. Caroline, first of all, thank you for coming. I know you've been trying to get in touch with me for a while and finally touch base with each other. I think this is a good idea because, people wait for the stories at the end of the year. Sometimes they forget what we did in September by the time April or May rolls around. So it gives the students and the entire campus an opportunity to kind of get to know who's leading the way on the campus. And especially if somebody's mug is going in Donovan, they would probably see that person walking by and if they need help or something like that. It's a good way to kind of intertwine the campus. So I applaud it and I support it and thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. anyone present in the open forum? It's like Mr. Michael McKenna and Mr. Cameron Tibaldi. May address the body.
We were just talking, I'm pretty sure we're the only people that's ever really used this as often as we have. If you guys don't know me, for the new people on Parliament, I'm Mike McKenna, I run WXIN.
I'm Cameron Tibaldi, I'm managing editor of the Anchor.
We're coming back to let you guys know that we've been working on the concert idea. It hasn't fallen down, it's still going. We work closely with, I never can remember the name of the company. Whitefield. I call it Plainfield, whatever it's called. Whitefield Entertainment, and we're getting closer and closer. I believe that Cameron has more information about what actually happened today. I was not able to make the meeting.
Oh yeah, I met with Dr. Kane today, and we went over the last few things that we need to change on the contracts from the school side of stuff that they want. And I wrote that up today, so I'm probably going to meet with him again this week, hopefully, if he has time. And then we'll send those bids out, hopefully by the end of the week this week. I just have to meet with him and Don Tencher once more. And then we'll be all set to make bids. So we should have information back pretty quick.
It's open forum, just no discussion during open forum, just for them to bring back.
The last part is there was question about these. There was one stipulation made by finance for us to get 25 or 20. I don't even think there was a number, but we said we'd get. We've gotten about 25 clubs, I'd say, so far that have had their Nick is their presidents and treasurers sign it, or presidents and vice presidents. Presidents and treasurers, I think was what we did. Okay, and so we've got about 25, and whoever else wants to still get involved, we're still looking for clubs to get involved. We've actually had some clubs say that they do not want to partake, so it's doesn't, that's okay.
You need to see that before you send bids out.
What's that?
You can't send bids out until I see that.
Yeah, no,
yeah, so I just don't want you guys to send bids.
Oh no, yeah, we have to get Dr. Kane to sign it, and then we're going to come up to you guys. You guys have to mail it anyway, I'm not going to use my stamp.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else present for the open forum? Anyone else present for the open forum? Okay. Officers, announcements, the President's speaking from the government, Mr. Madonna, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to be very brief. I'd like to welcome the new members of Parliament, Mr. Fagumba, sorry, and Mr. Pratt, right? Yes. What's your first name?
Edward. I go by Day.
Okay. I'm trying to read your thing. That's my middle name, so very good. I'm very pleased that we had a President's Proclamation today. Again, the purpose of that, student community government has a, I don't know if it's a stigma or there's a misnomer out there that we only look at a group when they do something negative. And we're trying, that's part of the campaign to try to combat that and give people kudos for doing something good. As far as some other things, the RIPTA resolution has been passed on to the President, and she's going to be getting back to me for the meeting. I know that Aaron is excited about that. We also had a meeting with Steve Morano about that particular topic, and he gave me some advice on how to deal with RIPTA to make sure that the student body is adequately represented when we go for that. You all have homework to turn in today. Who forgot about it? That's good. That high tuition is really an important issue to you guys. Oh, you have it? All right. At this point, if you have them with you, you just pass it to me. That'd be great. If you don't, please try to drop them off by next Wednesday, because I'm going back to the State House at some point next week, and I'm going to deliver those letters. Now, if I end up with 20, as opposed to 40 times 4, which is 160, I'm just not going to deliver them, and because it looks worse than it is better, because we don't have that many folks supporting the cause. So it's really important that you get that in. Trying to think if there's anything else that I have. I think that should conclude my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Dono. Vice President, speaking from the Rhode Evangelista, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. First thing I want to say is the reason why the revenue carryover situation was taken off from new business today was because the actual, what do we call it, amendment? Addendum needs to get passed by finance first, and finance went too long, so we got tabled in finance, so once it goes to finance, it'll be back up here. So that's that, and I'll be talking about the scholarship later on, explaining what the scholarship is, and we have a situation now with it. And we are on Monday, and it's a pretty small meeting, but productive, and there you go. I'll talk later.
Thank you, Mr. Evangelista. The Secretary of Student Community Government, Lawrence Cunningham. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the last meeting, and by all accounts, I picked a good one to miss. But rather than making my remarks twice as long this time, I'll just give you a few brief updates as to what I've been working on and what we can expect for the rest of the semester. First, I would like to process as many constitutions as possible, get the remaining ones updated, and any new clubs that are forming, make sure that they get off on the right foot. I do appreciate Paul's decision this evening. The schedule conflict has since been resolved, and hopefully everything will run as smoothly and efficiently as possible in the future. In addition to that, we've got some policies to update. As of next week, I will be bringing what will hopefully turn out to be a permanent storage policy, as well as other storage materials, including the venue. As well, later in the semester, I'd like to present student organizations policy updates and student organizations committee updates. And finally, some point by the end of the semester, I'm going to shoot for, at least by spring break, trying to bridge the gap between RSA, PFAC, and student community government. It's something that we've been talking about for quite some time, and hopefully this will be the semester that we actually manage to do it. And finally, conflict of interest statements. Anyone who has, even if you filled one out last semester, I know we've got a few new faces on calling this evening, make sure you fill one out. I would say if we could do that during the 5-minute recess, and then make sure I collect them all by the end of the evening, and that way we can make sure everyone's on the same page. And that concludes my remarks for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. The Treasurer of Student Community Government Incorporated, Mr. Kelly. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I only want to comment really quick. For the first time in SCG history, all of our budget packets have both been picked up and returned. I haven't had a chance to go through any of them yet, but it should be a busy meeting in 2 weekends. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Dr. Kane.
I saw you had sent me a report.
Yeah.
Is that official, or is that because it's not on the agenda? I didn't know if that was. Is that not a accepted report at this point, or?
You're talking about the report to the president?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's just a meeting.
Okay, because I was just trying to. We talked about the last meeting. I know we talked about Building 3, which was in there, and Alger Hall, the furniture for Alger Hall.
Finance meetings have been too busy to send the furniture for Alger Hall in. They've been going over almost every meeting recently.
Is that what that was supposed to go, or was it put in?
No, it was a separate issue. But Building 3, I met with Dr. Locke about in a planning meeting for it. And I talked to Chris about it there. There's a few issues I need to discuss with the architect before we buy any furniture for it.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, Mr. President.
I also emailed Dr. Locke. She said she and I are going to go over that, and if she wants to come, he's more than welcome. She and I, and some other name that escapes me right now, once we can get into the building, we're actually going to go look at it. Now, based on what she told me, we don't have occupancy for that building yet. I don't know if that's true or if it is, but I assume it is. Yeah. So once that happens, we're going to kind of go there and look and see what the space is, and then we get a better idea as to what we want to do with that space. Both the treasurer and myself have been working kind of different ends of that issue, and we'll get it resolved as soon as we can get in there.
It hasn't gone to finance yet. It was this body passed with the finance review to make that decision. It hasn't gone to you guys yet because we haven't had a meeting that hasn't run overtime, or it looked like it was going to. Recently, all meetings have gone past when we do out the agenda. If we go down to I think G or H on the written page, we've been going down to like I, J, MN. It's been a little crazy, so I want to make sure we get club business done before we worry about furniture and any lounges.
Also discussed? Yes, Dr. Penfield.
Just a point of information for the president, I believe, from Dr. Block, that the college is taking ownership on the building Monday, the 9th of February. So if you check back with her, once we have ownership, then you all have access.
She mentioned the date. I'm not sure, well, you would know better than I do, but she said the date was coming up, and once that date passed, we could
Right around this time, it's not in March.
Okay. All right, that's fine. I have an email. Thank you.
Moving on to my announcements. If you're just a minute, I have a couple. Also would like to extend a welcome to our 2 new Parliament members. Has any other Parliament member, other than our new members, not attended an orientation meeting with me or gone over Parliament procedure with me at some point since joining? So, lacking, other than the Vice President, who shared an office with me for last semester and multiple opportunities to do so. Is there anyone else? Mr. Patterson has one? Okay. Yes.
Is it also open to folks who may have attended one but still feel shame?
Absolutely. If anyone actually would like to, show of hands, who would like to attend a new orientation session so they can catch up a little bit? All right. Since it's more than just the new members, what we'll do is this. At our next scheduled Parliament meeting, 2 weeks from tonight, I will be here at 6:30. I'll send out an email to all Parliament members to remind them, and we can go over Parliament procedure, our meeting procedure, our rules of order. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask them then, and now we can knock it all out at the same time. Yes, Mr. Dennis?
So I know, like you said, that last semester, and then the week after Parliament, I actually went and no one was here.
Did I mess that up? Good job, everyone. I apologize.
Little slip of the wheel, yeah.
Okay. You have a chance to repeat.
Chance to repeat me too. Mr. Banana.
Yes, I would just like to point out that Nick Lehman's roommate, and he has classes on parliamentary procedure every night he comes home. So if you want to come over to the house and listen to him battle, you're more than welcome to come by and take it off of my ears. Because I try to sleep from time to time. And then go on parliament procedure.
Everyone's dying and laughing. I have a few leaves to report.
Supposed to be funny.
I would like to request a leave tonight at 9 p.m. for personal reasons. Thank you, Dr. Bethany Lewis.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Laguerre, seconded by Mr. Cunningham to approve. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions? No. Motion carries. Dear Speaker Lima, requesting early leave for the meeting tonight. I am not feeling well. I'll be leaving at 8:30 p.m. Sincerely, Christopher Kelly.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Laguerre. Cunningham, second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cavalli. Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Mr. Evangelista opposes. Abstentions?
Thanks, buddy.
Mr. Kelly abstains. Motion carries. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to request a early leave at 10 p.m. for the next 3 meetings. So a standing early leave for the next 3 meetings due to the condition of the hospice client I care for on Wednesday nights. Sincerely, Mariano Cavalli.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Laguerre, seconded by Mr. Andrews. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions? Mr. Cavalli abstains, the motion carries. Dear Joe and Mr. Speaker, I would regretfully have to. I would regretfully inform the members of Parliament that I will not be able to attend tonight's meeting. I have personal issues that I am dealing with at this time. Will you please excuse me from this meeting? Sincerely, Shane Spinners.
Motion.
I heard a motion over there that time. Mr. Escobar made a motion, seconded. I heard on the left side. Seconded by Ms. Akinalumo. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions, motion carries. Dear Mr. Speaker, I'd like to request an early vote tonight due to the fact that I get up at 5:30 to student teach. I'll be leaving at 9:30 p.m. for consideration. Sincerely, Jennifer Almeida.
Motion. Second.
I got it.
Motion made by Mr. Mendes, seconded by Mr. Andrews. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions? Ms. Almeida abstains, Mr. Evangelista abstains, the motion carries. Dear Mr. Speaker, I will not be able to attend tonight's Parliament meeting because I have to attend to a family matter. Sincerely, Randy Jackson.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Laguerre, seconded by Mr. Buckley. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions, motion carries. And Dr. Lewis would like to put in a retroactive leave for the last fall meeting as well.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Evangelista, seconded by Ms. Cavalli. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions. Mr. Evangelista abstains, and Dr. Lewis abstains, the motion carries. Finally, on SCG letterhead, no doubt. To the Honorable Nicholas J. Lima, Speaker of Parliament, Studio Room 401, for early leave. Dear Speaker Lima, I respectfully request an early leave for the Parliament meeting of February 4, 2009. I expect to leave at about 9 p.m. The storm yesterday and today required me to get up at 4 a.m. to work at my snowplow business. Thank you very much. Respectfully, second time, Christopher E. Bonanno, 40th President. Motion made by Mr. Laguerre, seconded by Ms. Akim Malumbo to approve the early leave. Discussion, Mr. Evangelista.
I just want to put this out there. When he leaves, I'm the judge.
So noted, it's not exactly true according to the bylaws. Mrs. New.
I just wanted to put it out there that if any of you guys want to save trees, you don't have to use a whole piece of paper to submit an early leave, a late leave, and you know, any excuses. We could maybe cut it, fold it, recycle it. Just a thought.
So noted. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Attentions. Mr. Brown abstains, the motion carries. In a moment, we the bylaws minutes. We just made the bylaws minutes of January 29th for your approval. You can approve those minutes at that time. The Bylaws Commission did meet again yesterday to discuss the conflict of interest bylaws proposal. Ms. Catalina attended, as did a couple other members of the student body, and we had a lively discussion with members of the commission and those who came to testify. So I was a little bit disappointed. I think more Parliament members had expressed an interest in coming, but I haven't really seen as many comments as I would want as 4 members of the student body. We've had 2 opportunities so far. The first was again with January 29th. The second was yesterday. The final opportunity is coming up on Monday, February 9th.
What time?
No, Monday is the last one.
What time is this? I haven't been able to.
All right, the final one will be Monday, February 9th, from 5:30 until 6:30 p.m. in Studio Room 422, right upstairs. So again, everyone is welcome to attend. If more people show up to that last meeting than we can fit in the last hour, then I don't think any of us have class that night with the Bylaws Commission. I'm sure we're willing to extend the time to allow everyone a chance to testify before we come to a decision that we'll bring back to Parliament. The Bylaws Adjudication Commission doesn't have any other business pending at the time. One other item of business I'd like to briefly bring up is this I passed around at the beginning of the meeting. It's just some clarification on some of the things we've been doing or haven't been doing wrong or haven't been doing exactly right. Just for your review. In determining the results of the vote, what constitutes a majority, through the chair, one vote for a tie, Browning, or their majority, which affected the webmaster a couple weeks ago. A couple ones I want to deal with immediately. Do abstention votes count? There's been a lot of confusion on this. The phrase abstention votes is an oxymoron, and abstention votes mean a refusal to revote. To abstain means to refrain from voting, and as a consequence, there can be no such thing as an abstention vote. Now, of course, we still record it as an abstention because we refrain from voting. So really, an abstention is a no vote. So an abstention and a no vote are one and the same. I think in the past, at times, Parliament treated them as 2 separate things, a no vote and an abstention. When in fact, according to Robert's rules, what we follow, abstention is a no vote. So if you abstain, you should not vote. A couple more things, and you can read this at your leisure. Friendly amendments, we've actually been doing it wrong. A friendly amendment has to be accepted by the entire body, not just the person that made the original amendment. So if you want to make a friendly amendment to someone's motion, it has to be done by unanimous consent of the body. Otherwise, a standard amendment has to take place. And again, I'll let you read the rest of it. Actually, if you have any questions, you can certainly ask them now or after the meeting or in 2 weeks when we meet at 6:30. Yes, Mr. Resendiz.
So is someone allowed to not vote instead of doing like an abstention?
That's what an abstention is.
Yes. Yeah, basically.
I thought like abstention was just
no, abstention essentially is no vote. They're recorded the same way. They're treated the same way in Robert's Rules of Order. So it's a pass vote, it's a no vote, it's an abstention vote. They all are one and the same.
Because in finance, I know it came up with just like you should vote as long as you're not a part of that group, and then you're supposed to abstain. So
Yeah. So if you are, if there is a conflict of interest that you feel, you obviously can abstain whenever you want, which is the same thing as a no vote. Just means that your vote isn't counted towards the calculation of majority. Any other questions? Ms. Weiss.
Hey, just to go along with that, so technically your abstention is more like symbolic than anything else.
Well, no, it's taking yourself out of the vote total. So it's almost as if you weren't present. You're present, almost as if you weren't in the room when the vote took place. Mr. Patrick.
Now, I'm pretty sure the term is quorum.
Yes.
Now, when you pass, does that change the overall quorum?
No, the quorum is a majority of the total membership minus leaves of absences and abstentions.
So that it isn't the same as not being.
For that vote, for that particular issue.
Well, I mean, like, say I say, like, no. Or I say, like, I pass. Now, what I'm asking is, if I'm passing, and, like, say there's 6 people that say, like, no, and then there's 4 people that are basically,
if the majority of the people who entered a yes or no vote.
Point of order.
Yes.
Is now the time you're going over Robert's rules of order, or should you do it 6:30 in 2 weeks? And should we accept the order?
Overruled.
He said it, even he. Wait, so go ahead, wait until 6:30 next week.
Overruled. So, to clarify Mr. Patterson's question, since we all are here at the moment, I'm sure since this has been an issue multiple times this year, including in finance, including in people's committees, I think everyone should at the same time know that an abstention counts in no way towards the vote total, unless it's in the calculation of a 2/3 majority if everyone is supposed to vote. But that, I don't think we have any provisions for that, and if we do, it's 1 or 2, and we never use them. So it's a majority is defined as the members voting. So say we have 15 members of Parliament and 5 abstain, majority is 6. Does that clarify your question?
I just wanted to, like, put it into retrospect as, like, an example. Like, us voting to send some, like Mr. Sendy's wanted to get the bylaws. Now, I would like to choose to, like, abstain from it because I'm a little bit, timid toward the subject. What I'm saying, though, is if all of a sudden you have, like, less than 2/3 saying no, or, like, a little bit more than 2/3 saying no is the overall total, and you just clarify that, saying that total counts as a total. All right.
Ms. Cabal.
So, what are you saying? Does the abstention have any effect on the quorum?
Only in very rare circumstances. Under normal conditions, no, the abstention does not affect the quorum.
So what if everyone abstains?
If everyone votes, well, to answer that question, if we have 30 members of Parliament, 29 abstain, that one person who votes passes or fails the motion. Mr. Andrews?
So, how many votes have we screwed up?
That's a good question.
There's a lot of votes that, we passed and we added the abstentions onto the prevailing side, which was probably what made them the prevailing side.
The only one I can think of
are official. You can't do anything retroactively, or
you can't go back and change something retroactively unless it's in direct conflict with federal, state, local law, or our bylaws. The only one I went back and looked at our votes. The only one that was in direct conflict with bylaws was the confirmation of webmaster, which, as we know, we went back and we took that vote out because we did count the abstentions towards the prevailing side now. And just to clarify that so everyone's aware, when you count the abstentions towards the prevailing side, it doesn't count numerically towards the prevailing side. It means that if somebody wants to bring the issue up again later on in the session, if you abstain, you're allowed to bring it up. If you voted no and the motion passes, then you're not allowed to bring it up. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that your vote's actually added. And that was just a misinterpretation that this body made a couple of years ago and has followed ever since, and that we've corrected that now with that clarification. Mr. Hobson.
So, just to clarify, you said if there's 30 people in the room, there's 29 abstaining, 1 vote passes the motion?
That's correct.
I understand, that just doesn't seem right.
Well, I think in very rare circumstances would that ever happen. If 29 members of the Ping Pong Club joined Parliament and the motion was to pass Ping Pong Club's constitution, Then 29 people would abstain, and that one person would then vote to pass the Constitution. I imagine if all members of Parliament were members of the Vermont Club's Constitution, I think everyone would vote. But that's just the way, that's how Robert's Rules of Order defines it.
Okay.
And Mr. Buck?
Am I allowed to talk on something other than vote abstention, as long as it's on the sheet?
If it's on the sheet that I'm presenting for the body now for review, yes.
I just read your answer to the question, how do you deal with the friendly amendment? I can think of several times that we've amended things like you say is wrong. Oh, what have we been doing, and how many things do we have to go back to, building off of Sean's question?
Okay, to answer your question, absolutely nothing. Those are the rules we were operating under at the time. Since we were operating on those rules, they were technically correct. Also, even if they were wrong, unless they violate state, local, federal law or our bylaws directly, we can't go back and change them, because once something is passed by the body, it's passed by the body, and the only way to change it is, you're not really supposed to go back and change it unless it's in violation. So to answer your question, there's nothing to break on. Basically, these are the rules that will be following from this point forward, but there's nothing retroactive about it.
But the stuff that we have done is still valid.
Violation, so we fix that. Mr. Andrews? All set?
Could you explain the conflict of interest one?
Yes. That is a hot topic as of late. If you look on isn't it true that a member who has a conflict of interest with respect to a motion cannot vote on the motion? Under the rules of Robert's Rules of Order, no member can be compelled to refrain from voting simply because it is perceived that he or she may have some conflict of interest. So basically, if there's a perception of conflict of interest, we're not allowed to stop the person from voting. Only if there is an actual existing conflict of interest, as in they're a member of a student organization, or there's, as it states here, there's personal or monetary interest. Now, we have a conflict of interest policy, which you all also have in front of you tonight, that elaborates a little bit further in detail and actually adds provisions that aren't in Robert's Rules of Order, which is our right as a body to do. We can add things in addition to Robert's Rules of Order. So, our actual conflict of interest policy is stricter than what Robert's Rules of Order advises, in that we not only advise people to not vote in favor of their own organizations or something like that, but we actually put a penalty in place that they can be censured by Parliament. And those provisions are in the existing conflict of interest policy. Robert's Rules of Order, that's basically another layer on top of the Robert's Rules of Order. Did I answer your question? And the last thing, with Mr. Cunningham's conflict of interest policy statements, to remind following members to fill those out completely, put all campus organizations and student clubs that you're a part of. Keep the top sheet, that's for your reference. The bring Paul meetings is for your records. Make sure you rip it in half. Give the secretary the bottom sheet. Make sure you sign and date it, fill out completely. Make sure you do it tonight so he doesn't have to chase you down and hunt you down. Because he and I are in charge of overseeing that at Paul meetings. So we need to have an actual list in front of us. And that concludes my remarks. Deputy Speaker Judith Paul is next. Mr. Joshua Gale, Deputy Speaker.
I met with Dr. Aguilar last week, first week of school, well, whenever the first week of school was, and we discussed the conditions and services on the campus, and she gave me an update. I told you guys before we left for the semester that there might be some upgrades to the campus, and she told me that by June of this year, if things go accordingly, there should be some improvements on the campus. It's not going to be substantial, but you will see some improvements on the east side of campus. One second, guys. What's your head? Put your cards back up again.
Mr. Buckley, Mrs. Bentley, Ms. Representative first. 1, 2, 3. Who else? Those three? No one else?
I got you now. All right. So,
Did you want to get on the list, Mr. Bentley?
You were
Yes.
If the deputy speaker is making remarks you know, can we create like a point of etiquette and just let him finish speaking until,
Let the man talk. I'll take the list for the.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bernard.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Thank you, Mr. Bernard. But as I was saying, basically, long story short, I met with Ms. Aguilar, Dr. Aguilar, actually, and she told me there'd be improvements on the campus for June, as long as things go accordingly. And she said that due to Obama's getting inaugurated and elected, we might have an opportunity to see more improvements with his policy initiatives. That's that. I'm going to be a little longer than usual. I have some envelopes here. I told you guys that we will be conducting a survey next week. Well, I told you the date. It's going to be next Wednesday during the free period. And I know that some of you guys will not be able to make it. So we thought that, well, if you are with your organizations, how about you have your members do the survey and then bring it back to us to be counted as a Rhode Island College student. So I have some envelopes here. If you're going to be meeting with your student group this Wednesday, please conduct the surveys, 5 surveys per envelope. And then bring that back to the student government office and put it in my mailbox, and that'll be put into the data. I'd also like to let you know that if you'd like to help, let me know before the meeting is over. We will be meeting. We're not going to meet before we conduct the survey, so please let me know. We'll be at different locations around the campus. So then, think about that. Please let me know. And we will be talking about the meeting that we had with Deputy Chief Vito and Arthur Patry in the Dining Services. So if you have any questions, let me know right now. Otherwise, that concludes my reports.
Thank you, Mr. Gear. List. First is Mr. Brown.
Yes, I would just like to, I forgot to mention my announcements, and it has to do with what Josh is saying. Per the request of a couple of Parliament members, I've asked Ed Brady to come in and address Parliament. I sent him 2 emails, but he's yet to get back, which seems to be par for the course. So if anybody would like to email him, in addition to my doing it, ebrady@ric.edu. He's the director of the physical plant, which is in charge of like snow removal.
All right, order please. Mr. Bonanno has the floor.
He's in charge of, basically, he's the Josh of the college, whereas Josh is at his 2 jobs. So email him, tell him, you know, my president told me that, or the president told me that he emailed you and you have to get back to him and we want you to come involved. Maybe if you all email him, he'll get back to me. What's his name? ebrady@ric.edu. I really have, I mean, I can't go down there and grab him by the heel and bring him in like I really want him, so. But, you know, you guys do me that favor, maybe you can get some answers to the questions that even Josh wants to know the answers to.
No, I just like to piggyback on what I'm saying. What I understand, there's a new engineer in the department now, so I guess he's going to be taking most of the questions and then they probably go up to him. They prefer that we talk to him first versus Ed Brady. That's what I understand. That's how it's going to go. So I don't.
Mr. Lendis.
Well, Tyler also had us kind of be quiet. Also, yeah.
Thank you.
Also, when you said improvements, do you mean like speed bumps in your areas?
There's actually, I can show you the document. There's I'm not sure if the document is open for public, but said but she did say like for instance lighting can be improved. The financial aid building should be done by June, I believe. And there's some specifics. I'm not going to go off the top of my head that he's wrong, but there is a document that I saw that there are going to be some upgrades for June.
Or speed bumps?
I'm not sure. I don't want to say speed bumps and say go back to that. I will have to tell she said speed bumps. I'm not sure. But there's specifics. That's what happened.
Mr. Buckley.
Jasmine already answered the first of my questions. I was just wondering what improvements we could be seeing. Did I hear that Mr. Brady is not going to come to Parliament and instead is going to send an engineer? Is that what I heard? Oh, okay.
There's a new engineer. that we should talk to him.
We have to go over there, like Wednesday at 3:30 when he's walking to his car as a group. We're gonna do it because
I was going to
asked
say
him before.
that man has some answering to do for a lot of the situations across the campus.
Yeah, he doesn't like answering me. I don't know why.
That's too bad for him, quite honestly. I just want to implore members of parliament to email him several times. If you have a personal email address, I think that's fine too.
Already started.
Let's do a whole campaign.
Well,
Guy's an idiot. Guy's an idiot.
You have a point of information? What do you have?
Well, point of information. If you want to know how to send anonymous emails, and then I already
I'm gonna keep these moving along. Mr. Butler.
No, that's it. I would really implore you guys to send some emails over because I'm sure we all have our own personal stories as to how the situations, the environment on this campus with snow or whatever has just been more than an inconvenience. I'm sure all of us have our personal stories. So. Huh?
Don't threaten guys like
No threatening lives or anything, or anonymous email campaigns, but...
Order, please. Mrs. Bentley has the floor, is recognized by the speaker. Mrs. Bentley.
Thank you. I'm not sure if this is the time or place, but I just can't really think of a better time or place because I've tried doing it before. Josh, have you looked into at all about Gage Hall?
No, but I did get an email. There's something, I'm not sure if it's a generator issue that I'm looking into right now. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't gotten to that point yet. That's on the list of things.
I wonder on that.
Mr. Travis.
I just want to confirm something. I'm not sure what you said exactly and the relevance of it. If you said any questions, so it's like I'm just more wondering if we're going to get an answer to the contract renewal.
Well, we're going to talk about that in detail when we talk about the report, so we'll answer that in detail.
And then the other part of it was, never mind.
Mrs. Dooley.
B-R-A-D-Y, no E?
Yeah,
Sorry, no B-R-A-D-Y, no.
Mr. Carter.
Who is this engineer we're sending in instead of
I don't have his name. I can get it back for you, but I was told that there is an engineer that just got hired.
I mean, what type of questions would you answer?
I think you can answer any question you have in regards to specifics, right? What's going on, how we fix this, how we fix that. That's really hard.
Mr. Brown.
If anybody sends any of those emails, I wouldn't mind if you guys copied me too. You can send it to Joan, but you just send it to Joan, I'll alert her that. So I can get them, so I have a record of who said what and how. I would advise against what Mr. Andrews says, anonymous email, you know, tell him he's going to have a flat tire when he walks out. I'm not good at that. But, I would sign it, you know, if you wouldn't mind sending it to me so I can at least say to him, when I go track him down eventually, that 35 people emailed, and here's the 35 emails that they sent, hand them to him. That might carry some weight, so it help me out. Just send it to RIC SCG at ric.edu, and I'll tell Joan she'll forward it to me and we'll all set. Thank you.
And I would just say that I was going to reply today at 5:50 and all lights were off. And it was very dark and I almost tripped over a bench. Announcements, Mr. Jeffries. Thank you, Mr. Leader. Moving forward to your reports. Right now, minutes of call 10 and 1 today. Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to start with the meeting of January 28th. Finance saw 2 conference requests, 1 operating budget, also another reallocation, furthering our view of reallocation. We've seen probably the most out of any year I've been on finance. And it's nice to see that people are using the funds we give them far better than they have in the past. There were 2 changes that finance made on page 5. They were not changed in this packet since they were just changed this morning. About halfway down the page, after the second motion, Finance added Nick to Mr. Lima. We had two Mr. Limas in the room at the time, and we wanted to clarify which one we were talking about. Then on the last line of that same page, page 5, Mrs. Dooley clarified the dates of their conference to be the 23rd. Yep, it will be the 21st to the 23rd, not the 21st to the 22nd of March. Any questions?
Point of information. Just wondering if when folks come in to ask for money for conferences, is there a way we can remind them to do waiver forms? And because I mean, I'm not like the waiver police, but I know folks are going on things.
Give them to them when they come in to book their stuff. Nice. Gives them to them. Whether they actually get returned to you or not,
that's another thing.
I'm not sure, but we make sure that we give them right when they book, so they have them, one for every person who applied for the conference.
Thank you.
So, no problem. Any further questions?
Mr. Patterson.
Once again, I'm a little bit concerned with like the relevance of what I'm saying, so feel free to just cut me off whenever. But at today, the finance meeting, I was just a little bit confused on why like reallocations need to be brought up. I mean, I waited probably like a good 45 minutes or something, and I was just a little bit concerned on.
Mr. Patterson, reallocation is under $150, I believe. Correct out? 150. It just got raised, so I'm a little foggy on the numbers. Yeah, 2 years ago. So under $150 can just be done through the treasurer's office. And anything above it, it's just so that we have a record of what you're doing, moving the money around. So you're not moving it into something you're not allowed to transfer your funds into, like a donations line.
Now, is there like
All right, if you have further questions, yeah, the first one, you can ask the treasurer after the meeting or stop by the office tomorrow or ask the over finance. Further discussion? A motion is in order to approve either one or both sets of the minutes.
Second.
Motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Second.
Well, I didn't hear a motion.
Motion.
What is the motion?
To approve both sets of minutes. The minutes for December 12th and...
I have not gone through it.
All right, so the motion is to approve the first set, right?
Yeah, the first set.
There's second.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Almeida, seconded by Mr. Andrews to approve the minutes of December 10th. All those in favor?
Sorry. We just went over January.
Okay. What he said. Everyone understand? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Kelly.
Okay, and then did anybody receive the minutes of the 10th in their emails? Because they're on the table, okay. Grab this real quick so I know what I'm talking about. I forgot to grab them from my office when I came down. You're pretty smart. Okay, this is another meeting that we saw far more reallocations than possibly ever. Actually, I believe the majority of the meeting was reallocations, which is great considering the meeting lasted until agenda item M. Also at the meeting, we had a large number of members ask for standing late leaves due to class issues. I don't know if that will become an issue later on, but we will have to stick strictly to the 2 o'clock deadline to end the meeting. That's about all. Do we have any questions?
Motion is in order to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Andrews and seconded by Mr. Bali. Discussion. That's a warning. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Abstentions. Motion carries. Security guard documents, January 29th. Mr. Escobar and Mr. Bali. And Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
What's
Speaker.
the first? Mr. Escobar has it.
I created this committee to get more information about the status of quality of the service that security provided for Rhode College. And Deputy Speaker Laguerre set up a meeting with me and Ms. Cabali and Deputy Chief Frederick W. Gio to discuss the services of Rhode College campus security. And I'd like to give Parliament a minute to look at what we discussed and to see if they have any questions.
Discussion. Mr. Andrews. I'm sorry, Mr. Morpheus first, then Mr. Andrews, and Mr. Bonanno. Mr. Buck.
Mr. Escobar, is a member of or are members of the Security Ad Hoc Committee going to be present at the public forum that the Rhode Island Board of Governors of Higher Education is having about guns?
The forum was today.
Was somebody there?
I had time obligations and I couldn't make the meeting. I did ask around. It was more of an informative forum. That's what I read about what students thought about whether campus security should be armed. And what I took upon myself is that I asked a lot of my friends in Thorpe Halls, and they had little debates about it. You know, some was comical, some was serious, about whether or not campus security should be armed. And it came to a conclusion that they should be armed, even with the potential that there could be mistakes. You know, especially with maybe the campus security held now. Maybe if they were armed, maybe something could happen potentially that would be a mistake. But my opinion on it is neutral. I feel that maybe they don't need armed guns, but maybe that's something else than just their fist.
Thank you.
All set? Mr. Andrews.
I commend you, Mr. Escobar, and Mr. Rollins for here on your work. As far as I only had one comment to make about the arming issue. I completely agree with Mr. Escobar. I don't believe Rhode Island College is a campus that requires armed police officers, and almost nothing happens here. I've been here for years, haven't seen a fight. So, but other issues. I'm not gonna ask about budget concerns because they're all bitching about money. Excuse my language. Escort service. Was there any comment on that?
Yeah. He had said that the security guards are available anytime that you call that number, that whoever the chief is on duty at the time will send someone out. There's not really like a designated set, specific people that are assigned to the escort service.
Now, having been locked up in places before on campus and knowing the length of time it costs the security to arrive, did he make any comment on time? Like, are they going to take, if a young lady needs to be escorted from East Campus, are they going to make her wait, 4 hours to show up? Not 4 hours, but.
I can't really specifically answer that question, but he did say that they have a really low amount of manpower. They have, I think, about 4 officers on it at a time. So if someone's like in East Campus and someone else, I don't know, they only have like 4 people to work with that. If they get 50 calls, they're really not going to leave it in that.
Can I go for a minute?
Sure, go ahead.
One night, I had to go into campus security for a totally unrelated issue, parking ticket that I shouldn't have gotten. And so I was meeting the parking, but that's besides the point. And I wound up spending 4 hours in campus security, campus police, talking with the overnight guys. And I have to say that they went, as soon as the call came in, they went to escort. And I saw, specifically Ron Urso was running around, escorting folks to their cars. Yeah. So I think that, if students are dissatisfied, they should let them know and then figure it out. I think the way for security to do is figure out which shift is the problem and then target those particular folks and get them to do what they're supposed to do. I don't think blanketing it and say, campus security is lazy is the best way to do it. Because a lot of them really work hard. And I was in there and I saw it. And not that I'm a gigantic proponent to say they do everything right. No, but some of them do work hard and the others that don't make them all look bad.
Let me clarify. I was just saying, in past, and I've had to do some of them on the door, for instance, taking them a while to show up. And they say, we're just going to lose the key. I didn't mean to say, I didn't want to, infer that they were lazy. I'm just saying, it shouldn't take them 4 hours to do something. It should take a couple minutes, despite their manpower, and I take that into consideration. Gated parking lots, what was their viewpoint on that?
Well, we all there, so you can address each of us. But specifically, we were talking about, it was really an informational meeting. he was glad that we were there. As you know, as SCG, I'm not sure if they had a communication, like a set communication going on, but basically, the idea is maybe in the future someday, because in the past discussed maybe getting off Fruit Hill Road and Mount Pleasant Avenue, and that didn't really work in the past. It's been an idea, but he brought up the fact that maybe we can get off the streets that go into the back streets for the dorms, because that's when they break the cars, that's where they go, that's where anyone can go and break cars. So he's thinking maybe we can have gator lots there. It's not a plan, it was just an idea, but we wanted to make sure you guys knew what was discussed. So it can happen in the future, you never know.
And also, based on the information that you just gave me about the escort, so about having an escort suit, is there a way that we could, you know, get commission graphics to create an ad and put in the anchors that said if you need to be escorted to your car, don't feel, you know, call campus police, just to get the word out that they will do it?
Well, Mr. Andrews, after all the questions, I was going to go to next steps, and that's a part of it. Actually advertising the security escort service, because a lot of people don't know that it exists, for one, and two, the number they call campus security, and that's a real problem.
Thank you. Ms. Weiss, you have the floor.
Oh, this comes perfect. A couple of thoughts that hopefully you can relate to Mr. Gio. Just a thought, one on the escort service. I know at many other colleges, students are trained to do this, because I just wonder if this is really the best use of your campus security force. If you know that there's only 4 people on, that we're sending them all over places to walk people somewhere, that maybe we can have students that are, going in pairs and walking people, and maybe we staff those certain hours. So I wonder, or start advertising, they'll get flooded, and so I think it's a nice service, escort or student safe walks, whatever it is. I know it's not on here that addresses it, but everyone is aware of the recent incident of a student being held up on campus, and an email was sent pretty quickly, and I'm wondering if they are going to continue that practice of alerting people.
On that incident, it was actually found out, with the cameras that do work, it was actually found out that it took place off campus, so it was brought over to North Providence Police. But I believe you were talking about alert system, right?
Yeah, that they sent an email, because I don't know, I think that's common practice at most institutions, and I know a lot of students who were very, not that they're happy that it happened, but that they were pleased that they had. Yeah. So, I don't know how students feel about it, but, if they can be encouraged to continue to keep folks updated when incidents happen.
Point of information, Travis, there was one on campus.
Well, no, to be clear, he told us, this is from the deputy chief, he said that, she said, this is the woman that it happened to, she said it took place on campus, but according to the cameras, it did not occur on campus. She came back to the campus and said that it happened on campus, but when they looked at the videos, it did not take place on campus. It did not. It happened on.
Okay, so I guess it's
regardless, that's what order is sustained.
Regardless,
please, Mr. Laguerre has the floor to answer the question.
I might not be right. You might not be right. Doesn't matter. The deputy chief told us it did not occur on campus, and that was the bottom line according to him. Just to be clear.
And my last point said that Cameron is no longer with us, but we still have Barry. And other members of the anchor are in the room. It's also common practice for a lot of schools to post the campus police blotter in the student newspaper. It's kind of like an update of happenings on the campus. Most of them are usually comical, but there are some that end up being, because I think things like, it's important for folks to know that laptops have been taken at the library or things like this. So it's a reminder to students that you don't just leave your laptop when you go to the bathroom. Maybe you and your laptop go to the bathroom. Think about someone else. And it should be, public information. Obviously, you're not posting people's names, but when incidents occur, so, just a thought, get out of here. Barry's noting it up. Hello.
Yeah, we used to do it every month, the monthly report. With the interesting thing happens, we usually report on it.
Yeah.
We've kind of been more case by case than it's been month by month lately, but I'll take that into consideration. I'll bring it up to the news editor.
You never know. You spoil it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. West. Ms. Resendez.
I know that I'm an RA Willard and I also have to call campus police if there's a problem. Do they carry anything on them at all?
They have police.
They have lots. We asked them what kind of, what they have to be armed in. Not much. They have classified, so they have handcuffs. I said to do that from the times, and he said no.
I'm almost positive that handcuffs.
Handcuffs.
Floor, please. Mr. Resendez still has the floor?
That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Bonanno.
Chris, can you wait like 1 second?
Yeah, what's up?
Number one, I know that, I don't know if Marissa mentioned this in the hearings term. The anchor has said that if campus police isn't available to, Cameron said this specifically, I don't know if it was at this meeting or another meeting we were at, he said specifically that if you see folks in the anchor, and I'll go out on a limb and say at WXIM, and you don't think we're freaky enough on our own, we'll we'll walk you to your car. Now, I'm not the toughest guy out there, but the presence of a male is what somebody wants, or the presence of another human, I think I fit both of those. So, I don't know what I'm going to do, but what's a campus security officer going to do without any weapons? The other question, I have two more questions. That's true too. So, and I'm sorry to be redundant, the incident that was reported didn't happen on campus?
Didn't happen.
All right, so forget that. Have you talked, and I mentioned this before, have you broached the fact that perhaps work-study students augmenting the campus security force? Did that come up at all in your conversation?
We talked about the escort service, having students volunteer or whatever, sort of where students would be, I don't really have an on-call student that would be a resident hall, and they would go out in the air or whatever to do it. But I don't know about the rest of it.
Because, I think about it, if I have to call campus security for something, it's a lieutenant, the highest ranking officer on that shift. His job is to be the dispatcher, which I'm not real sure about police work, but that doesn't make any sense to me. You think the lieutenant would want to be out circling the campus. I mean, could you get a student in there to answer the phone? Is that against the union agreement? Or at least, if it is, what's the policy for next time? Because I think that can free up, A, it's another guy, B, it's the highest ranking guy with the most experience at that particular time. And I think that even, and I've mentioned this before as well, one of my best friends went to Johnson & Wales as a criminal justice major, and part of a work-study program was he took a radio and he had to sit in a parking lot and make sure nothing happened in that parking lot. His job was to sit in his personal vehicle, to heat with the radio on, whatever, and just watch. And he got paid minimum wage for that.
Yes, sure.
I'm just trying, I think that someone has mentioned that to me before, that we used to have that here, but because of the union agreements and they wanted their overtime.
I can answer that, Chairman McCree. I'm a member of the Parking and Traffic Committee of the Council of Rhode College. There was, or technically still is, a student marshal service in place. And I think students have actually got work-study stipends to sit in the parking lot, mount the parking lot, or act as dispatcher, things like that. It has been inactive for the last couple of years. I don't know if these are funding cuts or because of union grievances or what, but I know the framework for it is partly in place and it has been done in the past. And also, in the past, WXIN actually had a stipend position whose duty was to run the WXIN escort service on campus, and they advertised that. But that was, again, probably a decade ago.
Oh, I just want to, I don't know when Charles Cooley was here, but, yeah, I remember Viola had told me that his work study job, when he was like a real full-time student before he had, and got to that 6-year mark, was he would sit in the parking lot and just do nothing, get paid for it.
But we have had that.
I think that, well, do nothing and watch to make sure nothing happens are two different things, but essentially you're sitting there. But I think that that's something that should be mentioned again. As well
Should we
as,
mention that to him or someone else?
you can mention that to him, someone else, mention it to everybody, you know, as far as I'm concerned.
Who should we be going to?
I mean, I would talk to the chief and whatnot about it. I would also consult the union agreement, and if there's a union steward, and see what the stumbling block is to prevent that from happening. That's the way I would do it. I don't know if there's anything else.
We discussed it during while he was here, and it was a union problem. We had to wait for the contract to renew.
That's what I mean.
There was another part of it too. I mean, like, I don't have the minutes there in front of me, but
There's a million different things I can.
Yes, Ms. Weiss.
Yeah, I think we could, the union stuff is just a matter of finding out, what exactly was the rub, and they need to change what the students are doing so that it doesn't, interfere with union contracts.
they did say they had like 3 or 4 problems, but that was the thing.
Okay, that's the floor, so, Ms. Banana still at the floor, I think Ms. Banana's all set. Thank you. We gotta move on the agenda, keep this discussion moving, Mrs. Bentley.
Again, I'm probably going to be very redundant, but I just have a couple of questions. Do all of the campus security, are they aware that there's an escort service?
Say that again?
Are all of the members of campus security, are they aware that there is an escort service that they're supposed to provide?
Yes.
We can't really say that all of them, we can't say that, well, according to the chief.
Alright, I had heard, I was at a meeting a few weeks ago, last semester, and I heard about the West Coast service when he was here, and we were talking earlier about how awful this campus is for ice and de-icing and all of that, and I fell about 8 times, didn't wear the right shoes. Anyway, I called for an escort on the way back because I didn't feel like sledding all the way down to my car, and when I called, he said, for what? This is absolutely ridiculous. I said, excuse me, what is ridiculous? I'm just asking for a ride to my car so I don't die. And this is just me, this is a personal issue, but I'm sure it's happened before, and he did pick me up after he drove by me 6 times. And I felt like he was looking for crutches, or I felt like he was looking for me to be disabled, and I just felt very, I don't know, he was insulted. Yeah.
You report that? I think like if you don't report stuff like that happens, they would have no way of knowing. So you can't really do anything about it. You have to report that to the person, to the chief, or the campus security.
The chief and the deputy chief love to hear what it is they can take action on.
Alright, thank you.
Yeah, and just to piggyback, if you have any concern or any issue, make sure you let them know, because they have an annual report where they document everything that happens, so.
An escort is for whatever purpose. I mean, obviously, my legs hurt. I want to doubt like walking isn't a good enough excuse kind of thing, but, right? An escort would be for...
Honestly, I'm not sure they have a specific policy.
Definition, I don't know.
I can't tell you that. I can look into it.
But I think, like if it's something that's valid, they should be able to.
Thank you.
Mr. Buckler?
That is completely unacceptable. But a lot of the issues I'm hearing besides that issue seem to have a lot to do with security's budget, whether it be the cameras or the people that are staffed, that are on staff or paid to be here to do security's work on campus. So maybe Parliament might want to look into pushing the administration to allocate more money to security. See if targeted funding increases could solve some of these issues, or hire more security or something.
He said he'd use about 2 more people?
2 more people, and
what about the cameras?
Cars.
The cameras is just, they're new, but the foundation is old, and that's what I keep on hearing. There's really no timetable to actually for the cameras to work, and it's,
Is that security's issue to deal with, or is that in the departments?
It's the infrastructure of the school, that's why.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Is that infrastructure? What department would be in charge of dealing with that? The assumption fiscal plan.
Probably is.
All roads lead to Rome.
All roads lead to Rome.
Mrs. Mantelina.
My question was about the security cameras, but I guess you're saying that we can't fix them due to the budget constraints?
Well, basically money.
That's all I was wondering.
Mr. Dunitis?
I was going to ask, are the security allowed to bring their own weapon? Like,
no.
I didn't ask them if they we didn't ask them if they brought in their own arms, but they don't have anything. They don't have a gun. They have their handcuffs.
To comment further on arming this campus security, he was very adamant that maybe in the next 3 years that was going to get passed and that campus security was going to get armed.
3 years?
Was it 2 years or 3 years?
That was his opinion?
That was his opinion. Like he felt confident that was going to happen.
Who cares?
Anything else to add? Okay. I just wanted to make a couple of comments about some of that stuff. Dr. Penfield and I have been in conversation with Mr. Cody in security about the crime alert that went out. Last we spoke, that whole matter was under investigation, whether it happened on campus or not. I'm not really sure a decision's been made about that, unless Dr. Penfield had heard something more recently. Nothing more. Yeah. So I just think that's the status of that. I did attend the open forum today on arming campus police. I was only able to attend the first half hour, which included sort of a presentation by the Board of well, whoever was sort of convening the group, the open forum, and they did some background information about the whole issue before they opened it up to people speaking. So I only got to hear one individual faculty member at Rhode Island College speak, but I thought some of the information that they shared, you know, was balanced, and it was you know, fairly interesting. Things like about, I don't know, it's like about 50 people in 100,000 that are on college campuses end up being a victim of violent crime every year, whereas in the general population it's more like 450 out of 100,000 in the general population are a victim of violent crime. So the idea is you're a lot safer on a college campus than you would be sort of in the local community. Another fact I think they shared is that, I don't know, it was a large number, maybe like 50%, or maybe even more than 50%. I think it was more than 50%, maybe more like 75% of college campuses in the same size as Rhode Island College, 5,000 to 10,000, actually have armed police officers on their staff. The Board of Governors studied this issue way back, well not way back, but back in 2000, and they had made a recommendation at that time that there were really not any circumstances that would require arming campus police. And then the University of Rhode Island had actually restudied a number of different issues with respect to campus police and security, but also looked at arming their police in 2002, and again agreed that there were no circumstances that would really require colleges or their university to have armed security officers. Another piece of data that they shared is in the last 3 years at Rhode Island College, there's been, I think, 4 instances where students have been referred to disciplinary action for having weapons on campus. And my own knowledge of those, since they're usually referred to me, is that in 3 of those instances, I think that they were BB guns, and in the other instance, I think it was like a crossbow that was out in somebody's car in a parking lot or something, where, you know, the presumption was somebody probably was doing something over the weekend, you know, hunting or whatever, and they forgot to take the crossbow out of their car, and they just ended up driving to school. So those were sort of the 4 weapons violations that we've seen in the last 3 years. The one thing that's interesting about the BB gun weapons is that our experience has been that those BB guns often look like real guns, and campus police's concern and our concern has always been not that somebody's going to get hurt with the BB gun so much as somebody's going to have a BB gun and an officer is going to think that it's a real gun, and the person with the BB gun is going to end up being shot themselves. So those are, you know, just a lot of different points, sort of on kind of both sides of the issue. But those were some of the things, anyway, that I was able to pick up from that open forum. The last thing I wanted to mention was regarding, you talked a little bit about the gated parking lots. And just to let you know, Dr. Penfield had actually asked myself and Kristen Salemi, the student union who supervises Campus Card, to look into the possibility or what it would take to sort of maybe put up gates at the, for the residence hall parking lots. And so we're in the process of getting some figures together regarding, what about the mechanical units that would be used for that? What kind of software would be needed for the student ID to be able to open up the gated parking lots? How would we sort of direct traffic flow and that sort of thing? I think with respect to that issue, it's come up before. We hear students, we're looking into it. It's not just a simple matter of putting up gates. There's expense associated with it, and then of course once those things are put up, my own experience has been, sort of with the whatever unit you decide to have, because people like to park in lots that are gated for some reason. They often decide that if they want to get into that lot, they'll just break the mechanical arm so that they can get in. So you have other issues associated with that. But at least we're looking into it, so it's going to be considered. Kane, Mr. Paxton.
I guess to continue on Dr. Kane's idea and what he was saying, and I guess more of this is directed towards the committee that was made for it. I know it was mentioned that I think basically the internship idea is something I want to note on. The other thing is, going off of what Dr. Kane said, is just basically create a priorities list possibly. Of I know security probably has their own budget and they decide what they spend the money on. But the day that I see us get gates before we figure out our camera system, the day that I decide to leave Rhode Island College, it's just, I think that, possibly prioritize, we give them a list of what we think, possible spendings, compare and contrast, if it ever gets to that. If it doesn't, I mean, we're where we are right now, so, that was it.
Mr. Andrews.
Just to note on the arming the officers issue as well, because my work for Brown University security, police forces, lieutenant up there, and with the 2-year timetable, it sounds very similar to how Brown passed theirs. By 2003, they had passed the motion to let them be armed. 2 years of training followed, and then at the beginning of 06, that's when they were armed. The difference being, if they're using Brown as a template, Brown is literally a neighborhood. Brown University operates and owns, I don't think most people realize what Providence is untaxable land, because colleges like Rhode Island College, which is a state institution, and Brown University primarily own a good portion of property in the city. So Brown's police force has a lot bigger ground to cover. So if our security is using them as a template, I think we should go with what Mr. Buckley said, and with the Security Commission, Security Ad Hoc, draft up a resolution, send to the administration showing our deep, distaste for the idea, the notion of having armed police officers on the campus. At least if we can get them, batons or something.
Point of order.
That kind of.
Yes, point of order.
Hold on there, because we as Parliament haven't deliberated yet whether we agree or disagree with them being armed or having guns.
Well, I do think we should, consider the idea of sending a draft resolution to send to them.
Thank you, Mr. Andrews. Just for the record, I'd like to say that I called campus police a couple days ago to report an incident that I observed in the parking lot that I'm concerned about. And said, "Oh, campus police." And I said, "Hi, I'm in the parking lot, Jay. I would like to report." Before I could finish the sentence, he said, "Call us back later." So I didn't even get to know what the incident was.
Did you report it?
No.
I'm sorry, Dr. Kane.
Motion for everybody have a tape recorder, video camera.
Is there a motion to receive the report? I'd like to make a motion to receive.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Bernardo, and I'll say that Mr. Resendez seconded and Mr. Andrews seconded the motion. Yes, more than one person can second something, so you don't have to raise. Motion made and seconded to receive the report. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Abstentions. And the motion carries. Another hot topic issue, the Donovan Ad Hoc Committee. Mr. Escobar, Mr. Legere.
Of course, after the last town hall, there were a lot of complaints about our food, so the committee was created. Me and Deputy Speaker Legere met with Associate Director Arthur Petrie and Vincent Fleming. He's not present around. He's out due to I believe he had surgery, so we met with the Associate Director. And I want to give Parliament maybe a couple minutes to look at what we discussed during the meeting and see if they have any questions.
Can I ask you a question, Charlie? Okay. So what is this about styrofoam cups?
Say it again?
What is it about styrofoam cups? Like, what did you discuss?
Well, basically had to do with the environment, maybe getting rid of styrofoam cups. Actually, I'd like to table over to Marissa White, who's someone that's been very active on it, or very active on it.
Yeah. I don't know, well, do you have other questions? Because that was part of my stuff. I have many concerns, and I think that you all are more powerful than you realize in asking for some of these things to change. It's about styrofoam cups. I get differing answers. I don't know if you asked them at all about whether or not you can bring your own milk. And I've been told that supposedly you can, but again, like security, no one really knows that. So, you know, I would encourage the group to, you know, pursue questions about, can people bring their own mugs to fill up coffee, you know, or if so, is there a discount? Because I know student activities would be very interested in possibly, you know, sponsoring a program. And I know also, you know, I want to keep all my issues to, I think it's nice this whole moving to healthier options, you know, because a lot of the stuff seems to be prepackaged and, you know, fresh things from some, you know, local farms and stuff. That would be, I think, go over very well. And lastly, I know it's not on the list of things that you discussed, but I get numerous questions from student organizations about this process for approval for, number one, bake sales, and then number two, for use of outside food vendors. And it'd be nice to have a standard policy, and I've seen it at other schools. I understand the health concerns about not letting folks use any food, but is there no process for, you know, outside caterers to submit their health, you know, their health code approval, and for us to have a list of approved outside caterers? I think it would lessen a lot of grief that Donovan gets about, especially our cultural organizations, and also that a lot of groups are able to get food donated, but then they can't use it because it's not from Donovan. And that's a little, not only uniformly administered across campus, there are certain departments who get a lot of food donated and give it out to a lot of people at big events, and how come students can't do that?
Yeah.
So I get kind of, like Sean said, I applaud especially you, Travis, for taking on these two issues, because they are probably some of the most complained about topics of students.
All set. Mr. Andrews.
All right, I spoke to you, Travis, earlier this week about the fact that there is no contract between Rhode Island College and College Dining Services, because College Dining Services is actually a department of Rhode Island College. So, which is very interesting, because we've all been under the impression for a while now that there is this contract, which is mythical. This means that we can, from speaking with Travis, this means we can enact a lot more changes in Donovan a lot faster. We may still have, well, we do still have restraints that we have to go through. That was his first thing. I do agree with Marissa on the idea of looking at the issue of outside catering, although having gone around food service, I know I understand their concerns. One question I had was the box meal program, and after you address that, the meal plan conflict, did you explain that to the body?
Just the box meal program?
Box meal program and then meal plan conflict.
Meal plan conflict, okay. Box meal program are generally for students who are board students who possibly can't make a meal because of their classes, because they have time constraints. I'm not a board student. Is anyone a board student on Parliament? Jasmine, can you please tell the time?
Well, you're usually working anytime between 2 and 4.
So,
You're allowed to eat any time of day except for 2 and 4. And on weekends, you can't eat during 9 and 10.
Between 2 and 4?
Yeah.
You can't do 2 and 4.
That's it.
I don't know, I can't hear it.
So, all three meals that
You can eat between, so breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's not bad.
Point of information.
Yes, Mr. Buckley.
I was on board 2 semesters ago, and it's true that you can eat at any time between 2 and 4, but it's segmented between breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If I go before class to get a chocolate milk for breakfast, that at like 9 o'clock in the morning, that uses up my morning allocation. So I lose roughly $3 that I'll never get back, and I can't eat again until lunchtime. And if I just happen to want a soda before class, not really eat lunch, I just lost $6, and it makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever.
So the box meal program is a service that allows a student who possibly can't make their meal time because of the class, and they would go over Donovan and tell them what they want to eat, and they would box it up and give it to them so they can actually make it for that board time. Now, points plan, that's another big issue, especially for one person who's running out of points very quickly. My friend did the math out, and you basically get $9 a day if you're on campus every single day. So I don't know. That includes weekends. If you're on campus every single day. So yeah, I can't eat on $9 a day for 3 meals. So that's a big problem. And board plan. My biggest goal, especially in the future, is that I want to guarantee board students 3 meals a day. That's common sense. You should be able to be guaranteed 3 meals a day. You shouldn't be having to wait from 2 to 4 to not eat, to stay hungry. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But
I was going to ask something on the box meal program. I was Travis for the meeting, and he did say that though there is a box meal program, he doesn't want people calling saying, I'm not going to make it to class, and you're just really in bed sleeping.
Yeah, it's really for those.
It's really for those who really cannot make it, who really can't go and get the food and stay in line and stuff. It's really for those who need it. It's not for those who are just in bed in pajamas. Hey, I can't make it. Can you make a weekend box meal for me? No, it's not. It's not for that. I did not know.
Order, please. Andrew has the floor.
Maybe we could, with the box meal program, have students with board. I don't know who was here back 06, 07. Back then, when you went and took your gym orientation, you used to put a sticker on your card. Or when you had finished the gym orientation, maybe we could do something like that. That way, those students who have board are recognized. And I mean, it'd be too complicated to go through everybody's schedule, but at least then we know who the board students are. I mean, it's direct identification. But I mean, Travis is absolutely right. We should at least allow them to eat like prisoners. So maybe we should push this.
Mr. Raleigh? Oh, you all set?
Yeah, I guess.
At the floor?
Oh no, Mr. Cavalli is next. Thank you. Is it Mr. Cavalli? Is Mr. Cavalli, Mr. Holland? Mr. Buckley, you still have the floor, apparently. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
I see. Okay. Maybe something that we could advocate is instead of having 3 segmented portions of the day where you can spend $3, $5, and $7, is it? $3, $5, $8? I don't exactly remember how it's segmented throughout the day, but maybe we could move to a system where each student has 3 swipes they could use at any portion during the day if they're on board, and those swipes could be up to $5, $6, or $7. That way, that amounts to like 18,
or at least a maximum.
Yeah, or a maximum swipe amount.
Yeah.
That way, you know, I'm sure not every student is gonna use $20 a day in food unless they're stocking chocolate milk, like in their dorm room or something. A lot of chocolate milk. But that's something that we should think about, because I know that there are, I can't think of a public school off the top of my head that does that, but I know Northeastern University allows you to have a certain number of swipes that you can use per day, or like a total of 200 per semester or something like that. There are, I think, a lot of ways that we could restructure the board plan to feed us adequately and also not bankrupt dining services of the school.
Hey, Mr. Buckley,
I
what's
just
your
want the floor.
I just need to make a friendly amendment. I was not present at this meeting, but I was going to take part of just moving.
Is there any objection?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
I wasn't
Mr. Cavalli,
present
request-
at, she wasn't at the meeting.
Mr. Cavalli, request to strike your name from the discussion section, where it says Representative Cavalli. Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, the amendment is accepted as friendly. Mr. Hahn.
Well, there's 2 things that I would like to mention that are going back to being beginning of the discussion. There's a question about whether people will be able to bring mugs in, and of course I don't know if that's for sure, but I mean I bring my water bottle in every day down and they never say anything. My own water bottle.
Not many people.
And sometimes they can ask me if I want a bottle of water. I told them no, because I have my own, so they know I have my own and they don't say anything. And then the other thing is, if you can't eat between 2 and 4 on a board plan, I mean, I think that's ridiculous. This is a free country, we should be able to eat whatever we want.
Thank you, Mr. Howell. Mr. Cunningham.
I seem to remember at the last town hall meeting, Donovan was a fairly prominent issue. I like this committee report, seems to be a lot of bullet points, a lot of things were discussed. This may have been included under meal plan conflict, so perhaps you can elaborate a bit on this, Travis. Was there any discussion of implementing perhaps a debit and or credit card system and or implementing a sort of swipe system more similar to that employed by Providence College? And if not, would that be something that would be discussed at a future meeting?
It was not discussed, and I believe that at the town hall meeting, our cards are already used as the sort of points that you can keep on adding money, so sort of a debit system. But I'll ask him. His doors is always open. That's another thing I want to That's another thing I want to message across to everyone in Parliament. Arthur said you can come in at any point and have complaints, questions about the college dining service. So if you don't like something that was made that day, he said just go over there, and he wants to know. So we can maybe, when me and Deputy Speaker Laguerre was there, he was talking about how they were making different sauces because one person came and complained that the sauce tasted wasn't good. So they would like to work with students.
Sauces, like we could taste the sauces we want. It shows the 5 different sauces. If you have a complaint, they will fix it.
His door's always open.
Wait, where's the store at?
Second floor.
Alright, please, your question answered, Mr. Cunningham?
Yes, sir.
I know a point of information, Mr. Cunningham. Question, and Dr. Kane can add to this, that in fact, it would not be for the residence hall students. It could be, I suppose, but they have a meal plan. But for all other students at the college, you can go to the campus card office and you can put down money on a stripe on a card that you can use. So you do have the debit capability that you're talking about in the dining center. I used to do that myself, and then I got away from it, and I'm not even sure whether I have any credit left. I've got to remember to go check and see if I have any credit left on that. Is that a fair explanation, Dr. Kane? So students can do that presently.
Thank you, Dr. Penfield.
Point to me.
Yes.
I actually, elaborating a bit on that, I am aware of the Rhode Island College debit / credit system. I was wondering if obviously many of us belong to banks and have bank accounts. I was referring more to a MasterCard or Visa type debit system.
Yes.
Where you take your debit card, and you actually take your bank debit card in the dining hall and?
Yes.
We don't have that capability.
Yes.
At the last town hall meeting, when I brought up, former treasurer Jabbo made mention that that was an extremely expensive system to keep up with. I personally have used the Campus Card service in the past. Campus Point is a great service, but the fact that our prices are a little high and everything's back directly from dollar to point, it does affect it dramatically.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. You all set, Mr. Cunningham?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brown?
Before I do something, I'm going to yield the floor to Josh for a second.
Yeah, there's one thing that we forgot to mention. College Dining Services has a food service advisory committee. I can't believe we forgot this. They meet, he didn't say specifically when they meet this once a month, but basically you can go there and if you have an issue with Donovan Dining, you can express it, and I guess they try to fix it, of course. So nobody knows about that, and we need to get that in the anchor as soon as possible because there's a food service advisory committee that none of us know about. So just want to let you guys know.
So I'm going to ask the same question I asked last time. I don't think there's a motion to receive the reports. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Bonanno, seconded by Mr. Buckley to receive the report. I'll continue with the list as it is. Mrs. Bentley.
I do not at all live on campus. I just hear a lot of complaints. I was just wondering, is there any like snack time? Like, is there? I eat like 1,000 times a day, and I know that I don't know. I know people have to eat more than I eat. You know what I mean? There's only 3 times a day that they can eat. Is there? I don't.
If you're on board.
You're on board.
If you're on points, you can do all you want.
Okay.
But mathematically, it really doesn't work in favor of you.
Yeah, so if they're trying to, I don't know, when they're trying to figure out financially whatever's best for them in the long run, and they choose the board, they can only eat 3, or they can only swipe or whatever, eat 3 times a day, for whatever the amount is. I know why they have limitations, but people aren't even supposed to eat 3 times a day. They're supposed to eat 5 times a day. By like the personal training FDA and all that stuff, 3 times a day is not enough. So I know there's like I know there's a financial issue involved. If we could up it.
Yeah, just so that the body knows, I believe it's about 82% of the residence hall students choose to be on the point plan, not on the board plan.
Okay.
Probably for some of the reasons that you all are talking about here. Yeah. But it's good for you to know that the vast majority of students have already made that decision for themselves, right?
Yeah,
thank you. Ms. Dion.
Thank you. Even with all of these criticisms, I still think that I've seen improvement in food so far this semester. So I think that what everybody has to say about the food has been heard. Because really, I haven't had a bad meal from Donovan yet this semester. But
it's only been 3 weeks.
Well, careful. I shouldn't speak so soon. But also, with the board plan, you can't eat between 2 and 4. I have the points plan. Usually I eat lunch between 2 and 4, and there is really no food available. That's really the one complaint I have. All that's available is the sandwich line and the grill. So most days I end up eating a cheeseburger or a turkey sandwich, and it gets really boring. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Dion. Mr. Andrews.
All right, continuing on with the campus points. My one issue with campus points is you always have to go to campus card if you want to refill. Yeah. Now, while it is in a central location and it is convenient to a point.
One of information goes on top of Donovan, you can go inside.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I've had campus points. I know how they work. What I'm getting at is, in the beginning of the semester, should you have an overage in your financial aid package, you're allowed to apply that overage up to $350 of it at least to library credit through your RI Connect account. Now, I don't think this is a bad idea, but I think, I hope everybody agrees with me when I say, shouldn't we be allowed to self-manage our points? I mean, if you have a debit card and you are able to go on your RI Connect and just enter in how much you want to add per month, you know, then wouldn't it make life a lot easier for students on campus? I yield the floor to Ms. Boyce.
Yeah, you would. First, I would suggest if you have a lot of campus carders, maybe you invite Dennis Sousa to come and talk about campus card. I didn't even know Jasmine was telling me, I know that you can call. I know I've seen them receive calls, sometimes parents will call with their credit card number and then you can put points on over the phone.
I've seen it done online.
Did you say you could do it online? Just said you did it.
But that's only for that. But that's only for that short period when you're allowed to apply library credit, and that's during like the ad drop period. It's only for a couple of weeks before and after the semester starts.
So I have to say these are a concern of the group that, you know, maybe Dennis coming in and talking a bit about his vision for campus card would be helpful.
Are you all set? Ms. Weiss, you're next.
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. Mr. Holland?
All set.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, a motion has been made and seconded to receive the report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Our next order of business on the agenda is the bylaws of Education Commission minutes. I'm going to pass the gavel to Deputy Speaker, Mr. Gary.
We moved that. We tabled it.
You have before you the minutes of the...
129.
You tabled this.
203.
You have before you the minutes of January 29th. This took place last week. Members who attended, I'll list there for you. Full explanation of everything we discussed at the meeting. Obviously, we didn't decide anything. We're not going to decide anything until the last meeting, which will be held on Monday again at 5:30 in the studio room 422. If there are any questions about the minutes, I can certainly take them, and members of the commission are here as well. Take them too.
Was it 5 or 5:30 Monday?
It's 5:30. 5:30 Monday.
Motion to accept the report?
Second.
Who seconded that? Motion by Ms. Almeida, second by Mr. Bentley.
I seconded it, so thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Mr. Deputy Speaker. We're going to the next item of business on the agenda. This is new business, the Beverly L. McGinnis Scholarship, Mr. Evangelist.
Thank you. Does everybody have this in front of them? For people who don't know, every year at the Story Awards, there's a scholarship given out to 2 students that meet this requirement here at the Story Awards. For last year, it changes every year, and I'll explain that in a second why it changes every year. The amount for last year was $850 to 2 students. The scholarship was actually based on an endowment from Beverly L. McGinnis' family that they put in the RIC Foundation, which is about $50,000, they said, and it's held in a money market account, I believe is what it is, in a money market account. And the money market account works where, and the way the scholarship is handed out is based on the interest we gained over the year. And so last year we gained $1,700, so we were able to give out $850 to 2 students. If you all have been living under a rock, you know that the stock market this year, so there is no money to give out for the scholarship this year, and I'm actually highly upset about that. So I talked to a few people, and I actually just got confirmation before Chris Kelly left that we have the ability to allocate money here at Parliament, not to work for finance, to allocate money to keep this scholarship open for this year. And I would like to have bring a motion to allocate $1,000 to each 2 this year.
Second.
Hey.
Wouldn't this have to go to finance first?
We said it didn't, because precedent was the debate watch. We gave debate watch money this year in our parliament meeting. So we can do this.
Okay.
Motion is made by Mr. Evangelista and seconded by Mr. Escobar. The motion is to allocate $1,000 to students, for a total of $2,000. So that's a $150 increase from last year? Yes. So the motion is to allocate $2,000 to provide each student with a $1,000 scholarship at this year's annual Historic Awards in honor of Beverly L. McGinnis. Discussion. Yes.
Just a quick question. So this flyer is the last year's flyer?
Yes.
Okay, so I shouldn't start, no, like, we'll wait until the updated.
Yes, updated, because that's why I was kind of full today and then we found out about it.
So after the meeting, everyone shouldn't be going to the SCG office to get their application?
No, that is not ready. It'll be done by next meeting.
Mr. Zenda.
Why 2.67?
Last year's.
I know, but still, like.
I might be able to answer. I think when the scholarship was put in place, that's what started at the time. It's been that way for, I don't know how many years.
It's like a little bit random, like 2.6 maybe, but 2.67? It would have been 2.66. You don't get it.
Mr. Zenda still has the floor.
2.67 is a C+. That's why. At RIC, that's considered a C+. No. Hold up.
Yes,
for
Mr.
information, according to my memory, 4.0 is an A, 3.7 is an A minus, and then it goes on from there. 3.0 is a B, 2.67 would be a B minus. Well, 3.6, 3.7 is an A.
So a B or better?
Yeah, so it's a B minus, like.
Okay.
In other words, if you go to class, you qualify.
I honestly don't know. This was the criteria they've had for years. I remember that.
And are you going to change it to 2.67 for overall or just for a semester?
It's a cumulative grade point average.
I think that's fair.
I don't know.
Clarify, the grade point average rule was in place from the beginning of the scholarship. It was decided between student community government and Pacific Foundation itself.
That's who signed the original contract.
So originally it was the Alumni Foundation and student community government that offered the scholarship. I guess years student community government has taken more direct role, I guess, in giving it out.
No, it was student community government decided to do it, but the money is put into the foundation so that the scholarships are only given based on the interest that accumulates that they have to give out that year.
Okay. So does that clarify everyone's question? Was changing the history of scholarship before I move on? Okay. Mr. Zende, so
So since it was in between both, is anything allowed to be changed?
Like what? Point of inquiry first, Mr. President, I recommend.
Would it have to be an agreement between the board and the foundation, so we could only bring it to the foundation offering our suggestion?
We consult Sally.
I believe the original one was signed by the president of the government and the foundation. So it was a decision that they worked on, you know, as far as the criteria is concerned.
And if so, would that be a better idea of discussion for finance? If so,
The criteria will be solely a discussion.
it would
Stand.
All right. Excuse me. All right. I don't think we need to change anything here because honestly, a B minus GPA, if you can't do that, why are you here? Let's be
You also said the
realistic.
same thing about Parliament.
Yeah, and I still don't think that Parliament should have gotten rid of that GPA requirement. Nor do I really think it.
All right, that is not a point of information, that is a debate.
No, my point is here, I don't think that we need to be discussing changing. I don't think we need to be changing anything here. So I think we should just move on.
That is also not more information. More information is to state a fact that has been stated incorrectly. There's been nothing stated incorrectly today. Mr. Zende still has the floor.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hoffman.
I just have to, where is the money coming from for the scholarship? Where are we getting it?
They come out of the general fund this year.
Typically it comes out of SCG has invested money over time to fund the scholarship. Typically, the money to pay out the scholarship comes out of the interest earned on that investment. But as Mr. Evangelista stated, that because of the economy, there is no interest this year.
So, but student community government already has the money available?
Yeah, I'll go with finance either way after it's approved and done here.
So, just clarify, what finance have to be approved?
Correct. Ms. Patterson.
This is just, my only question would just be, is this just for this year, and is this going to be brought up again next year if they do not have funds?
Depends on the state of the economy and the desires of Parliament at that time.
What I'm saying is it going to be brought up for next year for the choice of the Parliament, because I don't want this to be something that reoccurs without, our means of...
Point of information.
Mr. Andrews said it first.
Mr. Patterson, I don't think you have anything to be concerned about, because unless the economy is in such a state next year, we won't be doing this. Is an emergency situation. This is an annual scholarship that,
I was just curious.
Oh, no problem. Make that point.
Mr. Evangelista, do you still have a point? Do you withdraw?
No, you stated.
Okay. Mr. Patterson still has the floor. Mr. Andrews.
All right. Like I was saying, I think that even if we are funding this directly this year, I don't think that we should or do we have any right to change anything on this. A 2.67 GPA is probably the most fair scholarship GPA requirement I've ever seen, when most are, B's or B pluses, A's. So, I mean, I think it's absolutely fair that we keep this the way it is. And I don't know if there's a motion that I could make to, do this under conditions that no changes be made to the...
If you want to make that motion, it has to be an amendment to Mr. Evangelista's motion.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment to Mr. Evangelista's motion that no conditions of the scholarship can be changed this year.
Is there any objection? If there's objection, the friendly amendment is overruled. You can make a friendly amendment too.
All right, I'd like to make an amendment that nothing on this form is changed this year.
Other than the price, which is the
other than the amount.
Date.
To bring it up.
Order, please. Order. You want to make an amendment that no...
The amendment would be that the date be brought current, which is,
all right,
it might be obvious.
It might be easier to say the criteria.
All right, the criteria. All right, excuse me. In order to just keep the criteria for the scholarship exactly the same, with the exception of the date requirements, which is obvious.
Just 1, 2, 3, and 4, the students must meet the criteria.
Yes. Exactly.
All right, so that is your motion. Is there a second?
Can I have a point of inquiry?
Yes, Dr. King.
Is this a motion not to change the criteria? I mean, is that really a motion?
No, you just block any possible changes to the criteria.
It's a motion to amend the original motion, the main motion, that this would be passed with the criteria put in place, that the criteria cannot be changed by Parliament for the remainder of the year. Of course, the only way to change it at that point would then be to, if it were to pass, would be to reconsider this motion right now, which would be a 2/3 vote.
This doesn't seem like a motion.
Essentially, Mr. Andrews' motion is a motion to lock this criteria in as it is right now.
But it is locked in. That's my point.
I think he's doing it.
He's adding a stipulation to the bill that it cannot be changed by policy after, right now. So that was Mr. Andrews' motion. Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
Whatever, I withdraw it.
Motion withdrawn. Mr. Leonardis has the floor.
I was just wondering, so you can change the, I didn't know that Parliament, they can or can't change the...
Parliament can change this, yes. They haven't since its inception a few years ago, but...
Have they ever changed it, or was it always...
Not since it was created.
Point of inquiry?
Yes, Mr. Buckland.
Since this, if I heard correctly earlier, this scholarship was an agreement between Student Community Government and the Alumni Foundation?
Initially, yes, to set up in the funds go.
Okay, so do we have to...
It's the RIC Foundation, not the Alumni Foundation.
Do we have to consult the Rhode Island College Foundation to change the criteria on this in order to make it valid? If they were our partnering original body?
That's up to Parliament. If Parliament wants to change the criteria now and not with the foundation, that could possibly jeopardize the scholarship. It might not jeopardize the scholarship. They might not even care. But
Can we be certain they won't care?
No.
That's something
neither of us,
needs to be.
neither Tyler or I know. We don't think anybody else knows. So no, we can't be certain of that.
Done.
Thank you, Mr. Buckland. Dr. King.
Nope, I'm not playing it.
Mr. Butler.
Is there a reason, what's the purpose of the scholarship? And is there a reason why it's needed to be strong on engineering?
Now that's what they put in initially when they created. The purpose of the scholarship is to honor Beverly L. McGinnis, who was a longtime employee of student community government, who passed away several years ago. And I believe it doesn't replace the old loan fund. It's an entirely new program. It was a program created a decade or so ago by student government, actually less than that.
Can I just tell you about
You can try.
to move forward to open up to all the students?
What is that?
It's not opened up to seniors because it gets applied to the following year and they would have graduated.
By the end of your freshman,
By the end of your freshman year, you just have 30 credits. When you apply, you have to have 30 credits. So it makes sense.
Mr. Cavalli withdraws. Yield it to Mr. Zentrum.
I feel like it's for sophomores and juniors, but what if you gave a scholarship to someone and they use it if they're a part-time student to pay for more classes? So what happens if they're paying for classes as they go and they haven't reached their credit yet?
I can speak a little bit to the intent. I think with the, as far as the intent goes, demonstrates on-campus and off-campus involvement. I can speak to this because last year when I was the president, I was in charge of selecting people along with Dr. Penfield, Dr. Kane, and another student that I appointed to that selection committee. We made the selections based on campus involvement, and the students, after, we expect freshmen, of course, to be active, but in 1 year you can't get the same amount of campus involvement as a sophomore or junior can. So it's designed for those students more than that clarifies it. Mr. Evangelist?
Actually, Steve, what I want to say about the demonstrate. I mean, that's, you guys started talking about the rate point average, kind of upset me because the most important thing is number one is on-campus, off-campus. So if they don't even meet that criteria first, that's the most important one. So that's what the scholarship is for. It's through SCG, which is trying to promote a more active on-campus life. So I just want to point that out.
Mr. Escobar? Mr. Andrew?
Pass.
Mr. Cavalli?
Motion to call question, please.
Not necessary, is anyone else on the list? So hearing no further discussion, the motion on the table is to award two students a $1,000 each scholarship totaling $2,000 out of the general fund, and of course go to the Finance Commission for final approval at the Story Awards in honor of Beverly L. McGinnis. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Our next item of business is 5-minute recess. 5 minutes means 5 minutes, not 10.